Miss Wagner here. Today, I want to show you how to solve a number sentence using the cube strategy. It's a strategy used to break problems down into simpler parts and then solve them. In this video, I will show you 3 different number sentences and walk you through the steps needed to more easily solve the problem. However, before I do that, I will take a moment to introduce the cube strategy. Here, I made a little poster to help me describe the steps and to use as a visual when solving the example problems. As you can see, cubes stands for 5 different phrases that I'll go over right now. C means circle the numbers that you see in the problem. You underline the question, what is being asked of you? B, box the key words. This will help you figure out what clues are telling you what operation to use. E stands for both evaluate and eliminate. First, look at the problem and eliminate any extra words that are not needed. Then, evaluate the problem. And if needed, draw a visual picture to help you figure out how to solve the problem. And finally, S, solve and check. This is probably the most important step because we want to make sure that first, our answer makes sense. And then, is it correct? Because if it isn't correct, then we're going to have to do it again in some way or another. Another important thing that when you're solving number sentences, it's important to have these steps in front of you. And on top of that, it's also really helpful to have a list of key symbols and words that you can refer to describe the 5 most common math operations used. And here, I made another little visual with the 5 most common math operations, the symbols used, and then here it's a little bit small, but these are our key words that we are going to be looking at and referring to quite often when solving these number sentences. So to begin with, addition. When we are looking at key words, some of these words might be sum, altogether, all, total number, and add. Subtractions keywords are minus, greater than, more than, how many more, difference, and finally is left. Multiplications keywords are product, times, multiply, and multiplied by. Divisions keywords are quotient, divided by, each, per, and average. And finally, equals keywords are same, equals, the same as, and equivalent. Now, when solving the number sentences, it's going to be really, really important to pay close attention to the keywords being used to describe what operation is needed to solve the problems. All right, I think we're about ready to get learning. In the first question I have right here, I'm going to go ahead and read it to you, and then I'm going to read it again. All right, number 1. Emilio's family had a garage sale on Saturday morning. Emilio wanted to sell 7 red race cars. By the late afternoon, he had sold 3 of them. How many more race cars does he need to sell? Now, when I am working on word problems, I find it very helpful to read it over a couple times. For the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and read it one more time, a little bit slowly, and then we can start working the cube's steps. Emilio's family had a garage sale on Saturday morning. Emilio wanted to sell 7 red race cars. By the late afternoon, he had sold 3 of them. How many more race cars does he need to sell? So at this point, I have a fairly good understanding of the word problem, and I can start working my cube steps. Now, as you can see, according to our chart, the very first step is to circle. And just to help us better understand what I'm doing, I'm going to go ahead and use an orange pencil, just like how it is on the chart. So, Emilio's family had a garage sale on Saturday morning. Emilio wanted to sell 7 red race cars. Now, I'm going to go ahead and circle 7 red race cars. That way, I know how many and then what it is that I'm focusing on. All right. By the late afternoon, he had sold 3 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and circle the number 3. Now, I don't need to circle anything other than 3 because I know that it's 3 red race cars. The next step on here is underline. And I'm going to underline the question. The question is, how many more race cars does he need to sell? So I'm going to go ahead and underline that entire sentence. All right, now I can go on to step 3, which is box. I'm going to box the keywords. Now, this part can be very complicated because sometimes trying to figure out the keyword isn't always easy. Now, I can go ahead and look at my math operations chart and see if any of these words pop out to me. So if I'm looking at addition, I'm not seeing in this sentence any of those words in addition. So that helps me kind of eliminate addition as an operation. Now I'm gonna go ahead and move on to subtraction. And I'm looking for any words that make sense on subtraction. And as I'm looking through this, I do see a couple phrases that make sense. And the phrases are, how many more? And on our chart, we have how many more. So this is going to help clue me in to maybe the operation is subtraction. But just for the sake of going through our process, let's go ahead and check the other math operations. So if we go to multiplication, I'm not seeing any keywords in our number sentence. So I'm going to go down to division. Again, if I'm looking through that list, I don't see any of those words. So it's probably a good idea that I can eliminate division and multiplication. And now I can go to equal. And again, I don't see any of those words. So it's probably the operation I'm looking for is subtraction. Now, if I really had absolutely no idea at all what operation I was needing, I could always go back to E, evaluate, and draw. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, assuming that I don't know what operation it is that I need. So at this point, when we're doing a drawing, The pictures do not have to be perfect. And in fact, mine are probably gonna look a little wacko, which is totally fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and start drawing 7 red race cars. These are my cars. They do not look like cars, but that's okay. Got 3 so far. 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, here are my race cars. Now, I think it's also very helpful to go ahead and write that number, 7 cars. So I know how many cars there are. Now, by the late afternoon, Emilio had sold 3 of those cars. So I can go ahead and cross out 3 of these. So 1, 2, 3. Now that I've crossed out 3, I know that I have a certain amount left. And I'm gonna go ahead and circle those. So how many more race cars does he need to sell in order to sell all 7? Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. That answer is, that answer is 4, and I actually went ahead and skipped because what really I was meaning to write here was that he sold 3 cars. So he had a total of 7, he sold 3, right here. How many does he have left? 1, 2, 3, 4. He has 4 left. Now, this 4 left also means that's how many more he needs to sell. And maybe if his parents allow him to have the garage sale for 1 more day, he will be able to sell all of the 7 cars. So this is one way of looking at the problem and working it out using the cubes. However, I forgot the very last step, which is solve. We did that, but we have to check it. So, when we're looking at checking these, it's really important that we figure out what operation it was that we did before, so we can do the opposite of it. So it looks like we ended up taking away here. So the opposite of subtraction is addition. So to check it, I'm gonna go ahead and add 3 plus 4. Now, if our work that we did is correct, we better have 7 as our answer. So let's go ahead and check. 3 plus 4 is 7. Yay! That means that we did our work correctly and we got 7 when we checked it. All right.